How intriguing. Kind of surprised both of them went towards HRE. It makes me wonder if the Chinese was banned away from the Muslim, because usually that would be his go-to civ. In fact, I think that's more or less what we always see out of the Muslim. Every time I've watched him in competitive on outside, occasionally English is the other one to go to. I'd say actually most players go there. Like, I see a lot of players at the moment practicing the HRE and Mongols on the ladders, but when it comes to competitive, they always seem to just go back for the English and Chinese. I wonder if that's just starting to evolve, though. I think there's a lot of credence to these other civs. We've seen players like Mr. show how brutal the French can be in the right hands. We've seen some people traditionally do the Rus for the boar rushes, but that's a little bit RNG on where the boar spawns. I definitely think that the HRE has some great timings on this map. And also, another one that's being slept on that I'm hoping to see more of in the next week or two is the Mongols. Of course, that comes down to whether anyone wants to play Altai. Because from what I've heard from a lot of players I've talked to, not that many people are fond of this map. Yeah, so it's something about choke point maps that people don't like. I think it kind of fits into why a lot of people prefer Dry Arabia. It's probably the most liked map. If you had to, for example, ask 100 players to rank the maps first through to worst, the average for Dry Arabia would probably be the highest. I think there is some kind of point to that. Like, if you think about the way that the choke point maps tend to work, they do force a lot of these kind of stagnant games that drag out a lot longer. However, the flip side argument is actually what a lot of players have started to identify is the reason that it turns into that drag out is because they're not being aggressive or present enough. And I think that's something that has really changed ever since the last major patch. With the change to a longer feudal and a lot more aggression now, people have realized even on choke point focused maps like Altai, there are opportunities to end the game fast. You just have to engage with them. You have to be willing to take that risk. So let's see if one of these players want to take the risk, especially in a mirror matchup. It can feel a little bit weird just allowing things to kind of go piece for piece, right? You know, just kind of uninterrupted. The whole laissez-faire, shall we say, where you get your castle, I get my castle, and we try to get Imperial. That's not really the way anymore. I've seen a lot more players choosing to kind of feign aggression, to bait aggression on Altai. And what I mean by that is the most classic one is in an English mirror, where one player won't build anything, so the other one builds 4 or 5 lombos, forces his opponent to build double that, and then because his opponent has built double that, he rushes castle. Wonder if we'll get someone similar with HRE. Yes, thank you, Chat Me, for telling us about the amazing deals you can get with Huel Black Edition. These are pretty cool, actually. These would be even more useful to me. Like, I mean, they're good as like a meal replacement. They'd probably be more useful to me if I actually bothered to try and get Swole. Although, I don't know. I'm sure chat will tell me, like the idea of me getting Swole probably doesn't sound right. Maybe I'm wrong. Right now, oh, this looks right. Lead all of the sheepies towards the Arkin. Remember, this is a drop-off building now. Mwah. Get it all condensed there. A little bit risky, actually. There's a reason why a lot of players still keep the sheep near their TC. I'm sure a lot of you geniuses in chat can guess exactly why. It's because you're exposed to archer fire here. Archers and outposts, if you start clubbing sheep here, they're just deprived. It's the same risk you see for Chinese players, right? If you think about, say, Chinese versus Mongols, you know, in a lot of matchups, the Mongols will go after the wood or gold, but up against the Chinese, they'll tend to target the mill because there's clubbed sheeps on top of berry patches, right? So they're far enough away that you can block them. But we'll see if it gets him punished. For now, Magic is actually utilizing the deer. He's going to have to keep a product around here, so maybe he keeps this up as a backup later. Love to see if there's the same thing being done over here. Nah, I wasn't expecting it out of the Muslim. He's going to keep the sheep nearby. It just makes so much more sense, especially if you're worried about threats coming in. I think most of the sheep have been yoinked by now. They both went for 1 scout. Wait, no, both 2 scouts. Okay, I was about to say, I was surprised by the idea of 1 scout here. I think you just always have to go for 2. You know, some people would argue in this type of matchup, like, why do you want 2 scouts? Like, you don't care about sheep. There's deer nearby. You're on Altai. You're the HRE. Even then, it's the idea that you might be pressured. You might be forced to stay at home. Having that backup source of sheep, right? Hedging the risk that you get pressured and boxed in and making sure that you are insulated against that threat is worth it for 70 food. Especially considering good players will utilize these scouts beyond their sheep gathering usage. They'll utilize them to get a lot of vision consistently across the map. Right now, Magic's looking to get someone else out across the map. He's going to be the one to blink first. We talked about the idea that one person will lead with this dance. The other one will probably have to follow. Magic opens up with the singing. And he says, the Muslim, would you like to dance? Spearmen start to be built. We'll see if there's a reaction coming out. I've got a feeling the Muslim will try to rush castle here. The issue with this timing is Magic kind of missed the window. I think he waited too long here. If he wanted to make this type of Spearman play, it needed to be sooner to be threatening. I think what Magic wanted out of this was he wanted to build a few spears and force the Muslim to build something bigger and thus delay his castle age. The problem is Ben understands these timings very well. He understands how long it would take a Spearman to cross the map, and he surely understands that because you waited this long in, it's feigned aggression, not real aggression. And you can see, it's just one Spearman. Ben doesn't even blink. Let's be a lesson to people. Like, if you want to actually convince your opponent you're doing something, do it fast. I think, like, it's even more important in the HRE mirror because of how fast these tech ups are. You can see, after all that, Magic's just behind now. By a fair margin. The tech ups are already underway. And he didn't really do anything with this, right? He built one Spearman. And he had to build that rack. So he idled villagers there. You could argue that he, kind of got screwed a little bit on the gathering on the deer, and maybe that slowed him down because the deer weren't quite in range of the Archon. But that was his choice. That was his choice to place this here to prioritize gold. He could have chosen wood and food on the east side here, which is what the Muslim done. And I think that's actually a smarter play here because I think the food is more important. Simply because once you tech up, once you complete that move into Castle Age, think about all the units you want to build and think about what they cost the most. Like, what is the expenditure ratio? Am I spending more gold or food? Even if I go for knights, I'm spending more food. So it's more important to have these premium gathering rates at all times on food to get the quickest tech ups and the quickest approach to my Castle Age units. It's been Castle Age, the Muslim first there, but Magic on his way. Notably delayed. And the problem with this is that he hasn't really pushed anything that threatens. You now see him trying to get more Spearmen, but this is the weakness of it. You build one Spearman, you've delayed yourself this much. One Spearman alone is not going to stop a Prelate. Meanwhile, on the other side, these first Knights coming out, like, they can deal with Spearman one-on-one. I know, that disgusts people to hear. It's almost like it kind of makes some sense that although you're a counter to a unit, considering that unit costs 3 times what you do, you probably shouldn't just beat it one-on-one. I also feel like the start of an engagement with Spears and Knights is always deceptive. This whole logic of, like, yo, the Brace is, like, really, 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 really good. Brace is really, 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 really good when you have more units than you're bracing against. So when it's a 1-to-1 ratio, especially in small quantity, like, if there's 2 Spearmen and 2 Knights, the issue is, like, in that situation, 2 Spearmen brace, 2 Knights get stunned. You have to remember that the stun at the beginning of that attack stuns the Spearman as well. He can't do anything. The route afterwards is where he can do stuff. The route is when the Knight cannot move, but the Spearman can and he can attack. But that's half of the duration of, like, the immobility time, right? So, like, at the beginning of a fight, Spearmen just, like, they don't get the same value. Once you're up at, like, 6, 7, it's different because that route time is enough for, like, all those Spearmen to target one. But it's the reason why you see in these early games, like, someone brings out a Spearman and they just get battered down by 2 Knights. Because you've stunned yourself and stunned one other unit while another one attacks you. The thing to attack here is, of course, the eco race between these two. And so far, it does look like Ben cheaped himself out. Magic gets 3 relics here. Quicker on the move out. Kind of surprising to see this, considering that there was the ability to go Knights for Dumuslim, but he took a long time to push that first Knight. In fact, if we look at the count for him right now, he has got 2 in the field, but they did come out at a delay, so they weren't quick to move across and go to the closer relics. Barely returned this one as well. Dumuslim almost getting mauled to death by a wolf. Will make his way back now. So it's going to be 2 versus 3 relics, but on a delay. So you can see at every stage, Magic's going to have more trickle into his base. And looks like he's even going to drop the relic off in the outpost on the front. Remember, you can only drop 2 now in the Regnitz Cathedral. Wait, no, you can drop 3. What am I about? But it's better to just drop them in outposts. The reason is, like, you don't want to idle them when you can get better value. Something that I think a lot of people are still sleeping on is that the Regnitz Cathedral, like, you get the extra gold no matter where you drop off the relics now, as long as they're garrisoned in one of your buildings. This change was designed to encourage HRE players to use them in their defenses, because when you drop them in a defense, look at what it does. 50% more armor, 35% more damage, 25% more sight range, 20% more weapon range, and you still get your gold. What more could you want? Magic. Just checking this knight count. He is falling behind, and my concern is that Magic doesn't really have enough spearmen to justify that fall behind. If he does converge them all into 1 point and goes for a fast, hard timing into Demuslim's base, it's a different matter. But if he starts spreading out and he tries to take this longer, I think that the knight advantage that Demuslim has is a bigger deal. However, the trade-off is how much you invest in units, and you're kind of seeing that right now. It seems like Magic is trying to skimp his way through to make his way up to Imperial. Dangerous game to play with the HRE and HRE. These castle ages also last longer now because you get forced to invest. And it might just be the case that Magic floats all this resource, takes a bad fight, and gets forced to double down, at which point it would have been better to just build up in the first place. And yeah, I think what's going to happen is Magic, if he... Oh, no. I was about to say, if he sees the stables, he's going to be forced to reinvest. He didn't scout it. This is now very dangerous. This knight count is escalating fast. In fact, Magic's stuck at 3. The Muslims at 11. I think if Magic rushes the tech up and the Muslim is even halfway across the map, you get punished for this. And keep in mind that this will hurt if you do get spotted. Even if you like get the House of Swabber up, if you can't start escalating eco, it's still too late, too bad. Because the issue now for Magic is he's ran out of deer, he's ran out of sheep. He's only got the berries. He hasn't transitioned to farms yet. That's the key detail. Like, farms haven't actually been sorted. And although you could say the same for Demuslim, let's keep in mind that Demuslim's now playing mass knights, so he gets to play pocket ecos. Magic does not. Let's see what Magic can do. One option available to him is to prep himself for the good times. The Inspired Warriors could come out. That could be a big game changer with prelates on the front line. But right now, I'm not seeing it. In fact, if anything, it looks like Demuslim might be quicker into it. And yes, he's actually researching it right now. This is a big deal. The healing, the mass healing you can get with prelates in these type of games can offset any advantage spearmen have against knights, especially in this quantity. Tries to bait him in. Not willing to fight just yet. Magic with the tech up. That's going to be a go time for Demuslim. He starts to move out. Magic now needs time. Might need some Magic to hold it. Brace comes out. Doesn't matter, though. Remember, you need to go for the charge for the Brace to be effective. Instead, he just engages. The heals come out, and that's going to be an absolute wipe. No knights going down. Not a single one falling. Okay, sorry, one. One falling, yet so many spearmen flopping dead. Prelates as well, and mistakes made. Magic, too confident with his positioning here, trying to cover his tech up, now is going to be punished for it. And Prelates will be able to heal up any damage done. Think Delhi on a delay. That's what this turns into with the new HRE, the power of Prelates on the aggression. And the fact that you don't need to build them out of a TC anymore, the fact that you start with a monastery with the Regnants is a very big deal here. The fact that you can get herbal medicine at this phase is going to be an even bigger one. Now the movement in, Knights dive in. So much armor here, though. They don't die fast. The Prelates can also heal them. Torch onto the Regnants, because remember, Regnants is bugged. You can't E-repair it. There's been a problem for a bloody long time. It does not register. Let's just have a look here, guys. Why does E-repair not work? Well, let's see. Windows diagnosis is telling me the requirement is that it's in influence. Are you under the influence? How is this not? Look, that's the influence. This bug has existed for months now. It's frustrating. It's so frustrating. And that's why Demuslim's gone after this. Anything else in this is pointless because you're just taking damage and E-repairs comes out. But the Regnants does not have that luxury. And I love the fact he peels off 1 or 2 knights and just chases. Forces Idle Eco, snipes any newly spawned ones. Magic, only 8 villages up, is not going to be good enough considering the amount of income you're about to be down when it comes to gold. And all the while, these prelates just stand here healing. Even the spearman placement's not good enough. In fact, one problem for Magic, he didn't garrison the Relic and the Outpost, so he isn't even getting bonus damage here. So a lot of the damage he would attempt is instantly being offset by the prelates. Prelates that are not even being targeted by the Outposts. And, oh man, it's a herbal medicine. The herbal medicine now makes this impossible. He's just going to stand here indefinitely. Regnitz gets burned down. Spearman count. is still a big shrug. And the Inspired Warrior buff as well. Extra 4 damage going into these bad boys. It's impossible for you to deal with. And what I'd love to just see is the Muslim pick up the relics and walk away. Like, he doesn't need to commit the prelates anymore. But he does. The reason is he wants to just try and crush magic now. The repair's going to come out. It's going to take so long to get back up. In the meantime, your spearmen are still losing the battle. Another detail, if you did want to go to prelates now, you don't have that option as magic, because the Regnates was where they were coming from. Dive through continues. Eco being shut down at the worst possible time. Remember, magic just set up these farms. Just as he's beginning to make a return on the investment, they're going to disappear. Although the farms remain, they're going to be covered in the blood of the farmers that worked them. And wave after wave are going to continue on. This is going to be relentless. And the worst part about it for Magic is that at this rate, the Muslim could catch up to Imperial Age as he's setting up all the farms. Relics finally grabbed. It's going to make like a criminal. And book it out of there. Only 90 health on these prelates, but not enough damage fired on them. One relic yoinked away. Knight still diving in. Magic. Now, this is, honestly, this is delusion and denial at this point. You've got Imperial Age. You've got a Palace of Swabia. You're an HRE player who's dying like this. You know what you're saying to yourself? I have Palace of Swabia. I can make more. The problem is you can't make more relics. And it's about to be 4-1. One that's not even banked. And your eco is, I mean, it's abysmal. He has 36 eco and 34 are idle right now. And he didn't even complete the repairs of the Regnates. I mean, this is pretty much done. This would take a miracle to recover for Magic. He's at least going to get to go back to work. He's at least going to bring one relic back. But he still needs to waste wood to repair the Regnates to then bank. And then he also still has to worry about the fact that the Muslim could probably crack Imperial Age in the next minute. And he'll be eco ahead. Let's see if he goes for it. Farms are all now set up. The amount of gold he's got coming in, he could trade for the additional food. I wouldn't be surprised if he just races for it now. There's no need to reinvest. In fact, I love this. He's just prepping more prelates. The prelates are the value unit. A lot of them got sacrificed to the dive. You know they're going to be useful for Inspired Warriors in the next fight as well. The cool thing that the prelates being buffed up again here is going to be useful for is he'll have the choice to either go into Mass Knights in Imp, or he can switch to Langsneck. Langsneck with Inspired Warriors is no joke. Normally, Langsneck have 17 damage. If you Inspire Warrior them, they go up to 20, which is what they get in Imperial Age. If you Imp them up, you put them up to 23 damage per Langsneck in an AoE spread. That's lethal. Another option, of course, is to think about Mangonels that you can buff up down the line, but I don't see him needing to go that way. I think Langsneck is just the poor man's Mangonel. But it doesn't perform like that when you talk about melee mosh pits. That's where it really thrives. Outpost was garrisoned, was fortified. Even though that has happened, though, you can see he's just going to dive in and start burning down the buildings. Courtesy of the prelate heal rates. All the while, this is just buying time back at home. Time that can be used to now reinvest in Knights, but also afford a tech up. You can see how close he is. He repairs about to run out. He'll just focus on the houses. And that's bad news for Magic, because Magic is now pop-capped. And also the Knights on the backside. Okay, this is a big deal because Magic now can't build housing. He's blocked everywhere. He's idle ecoed. Any attempt to build a house is going to be shut down by these Knights. This is really important. Even with the Palace of Swabi, he can't build more villages. And you can see it. He knows it. He's like, okay, but I need houses, but I can't build houses. There's one place that he could build them as here. And this delay on even realizing, I mean, the time it's taken him to realize that he hadn't got housing, misses out on 3 extra villages at least. And you can't afford to miss out on anything right now. The Sacred Site timer has started. All 3 Sacred Sites controlled by the Muslim. The Muslim is almost 10 villages ahead. He's about to catch up to Imperial Age. Now look at these incomes. Oh. Honestly, that burns my retinas to look at. Then also look at this military pop cap chart. I mean, it's Spearman versus Knights. You'd think that Spearman would win, but there's more Knights than there are Spearmen. And they're all being juiced up. They're all roid rages here due to the Inspired Warriors tech from the Prelates. Those houses he just built are about to go down again. The good news is he moved away. The bad news is he needs more farms. The even worse news is he can't even wait to go farms by going on deer because there's more knights on the north side. He'll stonewall up to buy some time, but houses, of course, can't be E-repaired, slows down. Knights are once again into the eco, and I mean, Magic, at what point are you just burning yourself out in this game? Because I feel like we're there, right? Like, every moment you think you can recover, it gets worse. Now, we can see that. I think from Magic's perspective, he's not as deflated in his mind because he doesn't see just how bad it is. If he ever gets a glimpse of all the eco, this escalate, the fact that Langsneck are now coming out, he might just wave the white flag because he doesn't have any answers to it. In fact, right now, Magic's only unit being produced is still Spearman. So the moment Langsneck show up, that entire Spearman blob disappears. You'll at least see him get the decap in the center, but I'm very worried. If he doesn't sniff out the Langsneck before they're up to 10 and he's in a fight with them, it might just be an instant GG. The only upside right now for Magic is that the Muslim hasn't got marching drills. And there it is. That's the info he needed. He now knows about the Langsneck. Let's see how he reacts. Let's see if he can react, because one big concern, of course, is a limited gold. Remember, he only has one relic. He lost his second one. Defensive keep now going up for Magic. That'll help him make sure he never loses that one relic he has, but he's at risk of losing everything else. He did not really stop much here. Delayed the sacred timer, but overall it's going to be captured again, and I don't expect him to get a free decap again. Okay, after this one, and the reason is that walls will go up. In fact, I don't even think the Muslim needs to think sacred sites anymore. The knight count is so high that he could just end the game. The keeper's going to go up, but tough, man. Really tough. Oh, my mistake. Magic did get the second relic back. Yeah, I'm an idiot. That's right. He had 3. He went down to 2. My brain. But that's what makes this feel so rough, right? He actually had such good timings at the beginning of Castle. He got the extra relic. He was always 1 relic ahead. But you see the importance of being ready for Castle Age aggression. You see the power of Prelates now in Castle Age. Now you're going to see the power of Langsneck up in Imperial Age. Bad fight. Really bad fight. Spearman count is evaporating. They can't stand there for a second. Overwhelmed and done. This one is chalked, and I think he's going to know it. Even with the keep here, it doesn't matter. There's enough knights now to just split up and murder everyone, and not enough spearmen to do anything about it. Great play by the Muslim. He understands exactly what the HRE meta is now, what matters most. It's all about the Prelates. Not for the relics. It's more than that. It's the healing, it's Inspired Warriors. That dive-in was so effective, the same reason why Delhi herbal medicine dives used to be effective. You stand and laugh as you take no damage in your opponent's base. Now 1-1 apiece. Means we get a game free between the Muslim and Magic.